Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description.
Other than that, the market has been a bit of a grind, to say the least. And as we talked last Wednesday, I'm looking for VIX to go into 20, VVIX into about 24, and then base before we have any potential of selling. In a nutshell, not before OPEX, which is the 16th, Memorial Day, which is the 26th, and then we have a NVIDIA earnings on the 28th, Wednesday. So basically the end of May. So that's it. That's all I got for right now. A little roundup of market action.
Well, that's it. I think it's become a little bit boring, right? We got the squeeze. Now we're getting a little bit of the wheat. And MAG finally, we saw the MAG. I've been saving that one for you, Samantha.
I love that.
MAG finally snapped out of its stupor. And we had been talking about, I'm a little bit surprised because I've been a little bit so-so on MAG in general, especially Google, which we'll talk about it at some point. But we had that big move back. We talked about how structurally we had these very large potential tailwinds in the levered ETFs, which tend to focus in on those very popular products, very popular tech, MAG, et cetera. And that probably had an effect on helping to push those stocks up. Decent numbers as well, generally speaking, which I don't think anybody's that surprised about, but markets just needed another reason to go. So when we were at 4,900, the 200-day moving average seemed like a bit of a dream, but that was max pain, and we've gone towards that like a magnet. It seemed like this incredible wall. When we were with Brett a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, I said, one thing about markets I've learned over the years is that I'm rarely surprised at how amazing they are at climbing that wall of worry. And I said, it's a big wall, but it could happen, especially coming off that existential risk that we experienced. It was palpable, the sense that the markets were being thrown aside. And as soon as that stopped, a lot of it, I think, came out of it because that was the immediate sort of issue underneath our noses. And the secondary issue would have been, how bad are the tariffs going to be? Are we going to see the art of the deal play out? We don't know. So what they did was they bought first and ask questions later, is I think what we've seen. So I think it's a reasonable bounce back, right? It depends. And I'm sure you'll agree, if this goes on for 6 or 8 months, then we have to admit that there's some damage on the economy that's going to be inflicted. So the market, without question, is expensive, but as soon as the glass is half full, then the market starts to absorb these things. Earnings were pretty okay. We talked about some of these mechanical effects from levered ETFs and vol targeting. Talked about vol targeting. Some of these systematic strategies, CTAs, vol targeting, that some of the viewers probably are like, what the heck is that? They're larger than they've ever been. And these are sort of these strategies that just react to either volatility or changes in risk parity type strategies that just react to things. They have no emotion. They're like the Terminator. They just do what they got to do. And vol targeting was tapped out. They had literally sold everything. So they were basically near the lows that we've seen over the years in terms of allocation. And when that happens, there's nothing left to do but start to allocate. So I'll show you guys some charts in a moment, but really it's a market where there's buying on down days, there's buying on neutral days, there's buying on up days from the standpoint of some of these funds. And I think, and then you have this corporate window that's opened again, and there's sort of some optimism that as soon as we see one deal, we may see more deals. They've been very unclear on that, obviously. They've talked about, we're close to a China deal, and then what are you talking about? Nobody's even talking to China. And so there's always obviously a bit of confusion out there, but it's quite possible. I feel like if we do get a deal, and I think there's a pretty good chance of that. I think Trump wants to be a hero of sorts in the end. I think he wants to mix things up and shake things up, but in the end, I think he wants to be liked. He wants to do something for the people, and I'm sure and he is a moneymaker, or he wants to make money. So I think he believes in market. And so I think in the end, we are certainly going to see that slowness because of all this pull forward demand. We're going to see some sort of slowness. But the thing is, how will the market perceive that? Will it say 2025 is going to be throwaway? We're going to look at 2026. It is transitory. This is a transitory kind of lull in the economy. And let's look towards tax cut, regulatory tail, all this wonderful stuff that was supposed to come with the Trump bump right off the bat. And then we'll see maybe some of that money that's gone east will start to reconsider and come back. And so I think the stage could be set for something interesting.
I love your optimism.
I am getting glass half full.
All right. I'm going to talk to a little bit of the snark that I feel instantly. I have to get it off my chest. So when you talk about Trump has the best interests, I think he definitely has for his insiders. For example, that Trump coin, 58 wallets have made over $10 million each from President Donald Trump's meme coin, totaling $1.1 billion in profits. Blockchain analytics firm Chain Analysis said 764,000 wallets of mostly small holders have lost money on Trump, according to the firm. So he's still paying his insiders really well. But in the meantime, one of the reasons why I think we have also moved into the higher levels is what I talked about on Monday, which was right here. Feels wrong to be long, and yet talking about your kind of price insensitive buyers of the CTAs and the vol targeting and such, they buying begets buying and selling begets selling. And right now we're still in that positive gamma. But it was really interesting because Brent, speaking of which, was talking about option flow and dealer positioning in his Sunday missive. And it basically said, was that rally all put covering? This is them speaking, right? Signals in their GEX, which we got a show of that a few weeks ago, said if everything, it says yes, it is put covering. Forgive me, I got to read this out in one continuous spread. If everything is in the clear right here, then we should see investors rolling out of puts and into calls, and volatility should contract. Now, they're not talking about the realized volatility that has absolutely been coming down and is still coming down into options expiration next week, both for VIX and for the monthly, which we talked about literally from 22nd, 23rd, which was when we did the macro to micro 2 weeks ago, that this is really part and parcel, right? We start to have that realized volatility fall. Anyway, big picture, if you break down what is supplying the SPY negative gamma, what you find is that it is almost 100% from market maker short put positions, which is, we got a graph, but anyway, this means that SPY traders are long puts as their predominant position. So they're still hedged. We haven't really hit that level yet that will force a lot of the unhedged and more of the kind of gamma chasing. In the meantime, I still see this VVIX, we talked about this last week and the week before, still falling into kind of 94 area actually for VVIX and 20 for VIX. And then we'll find out. And yes, all those lovely price insensitive buyers Gallagher talks about and details, but we're still waiting, anticipating something on the peace deal, something on the trade deal, something on the tax cut and debt ceiling deals. And I will warn, that kind of stuff has been pushed out. The GOP is not in consensus on how to deal with Medicare, and they really aren't really in alignment. So that's getting pushed out to probably June. It's not going to make it by Memorial Day weekend, which was the Trump request.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here, and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.